Welcome back to the 5 p.m. podcast. I'm Dan, your resident politics nerd, always ready to dive into the wonky details.
And I'm Tina, here to keep us grounded and make sure it all makes sense. And, ask the questions everyone's asterisk actually times thinking.
This week, we're tackling something that's both super important and, honestly, a little bit stressful. The Canada-U.S. Economic Summit, happening right here in Toronto.
Stressful is right. We've got this temporary pause on U.S. tariffs, but it's only until March 4th. It feels like we're walking on eggshells, economically speaking.
Exactly. And that's why this summit is so critical. They've pulled together a new advisory council. It's like the Avengers of Canadian economics, trying to figure out how to deal with, Thanos. In this analogy, I guess, being potential U.S. trade policy.
Okay, I'm following the superhero metaphor. So, who's on this council? Who are our economic Avengers?
We've got business leaders, especially from the automotive and manufacturing sectors. Flavio Volpe from the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, Dennis Darby from Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters. These are the people on the front lines.
Makes sense. They're the ones who'd feel the immediate impact of any tariffs.
Right. And, crucially, they've also included Indigenous representatives, like National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepinack from the Assembly of First Nations.
That's asterisk so times important. We can't forget that these economic decisions have real-world consequences, especially for communities that are already facing unique challenges.
Precisely. Her point is that tariff-driven cost increases could threaten the viability of northern and remote communities. It's not just about big business. It's about people's livelihoods.
So what are they actually doing at this summit? Beyond, assembling.
Well, a big part of it is contingency planning. Like, okay, if these tariffs do times come back, what's our plan B, plan C, plan D?
It sounds like a massive brainstorming session, but with incredibly high stakes.
Exactly. And one of the things they're focusing on, which I find really interesting, is improving times interprovincial times trade.
Oh, that's the stuff about all the regulations and barriers between provinces, right?
Yep. It's kind of wild. But those internal barriers are estimated to cost the Canadian economy something like $150 times billion times annually.
Wow. That's a lot of money being left on the table, just because of internal red tape.
It is. So part of the summit is about figuring out how to streamline things, harmonize standards, and basically make it easier for Canadian businesses to trade with each other.
Which, ironically, might make us less reliant on the U.S. market in the long run.
That's the idea. It's part of a broader strategy of supply chain diversification, not putting all our eggs in one basket, so to speak.
So, spreading out our trade relationships, exploring other markets, makes sense. Are they talking about specific alternatives?
They're definitely looking at accelerating the implementation of CETA, the Canada-European Union Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. Apparently, we're only using a fraction of its potential right now.
So more trade with Europe could help offset some of the risk from the U.S. situation?
Precisely. It's all about building resilience. Flavio Volpe called this Canada's most severe industrial challenge since the NAFTA renegotiations. So, it's serious.
It's good that it is being taken seriously, and very important to have all of these minds at the table.
Speaking of taking it seriously, they call themselves Team Canada. I think that is a strong approach.
Well, let's hope Team Canada comes up with some strong solutions for all of Canada. Thanks for breaking that down for us, Dan.
My pleasure, Tina. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to the 5 p.m. podcast. We'll be back next week with more deep dives into the world of, everything.